listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Get on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
All right, there's no thing I'd rather talk about and nobody I'd rather talk to about it than the trade deadline and Evan, producer Evan.
Let's go.
Are you as exhausted as I am, Evan?
Yeah, I was, probably for much different reasons. My fingers are exhausted because I was refreshing Twitter about every 5 minutes.
Were you? Was it worth it? Was it worth it?
Partially. I think partially. I mean, for overall in the league, yes. But in terms of obviously Mets wise as a Met fan, I was I think it was partially worth it. But yeah, no, it was just, it was pretty funny because it was the day went by. And then it was as you got closer and closer, I was trying to figure out what to watch because I was I don't know if I should watch just Mets centric, but maybe see if a bigger trade happens. I don't know.
What was the buzz about the Mets?
It
what
seemed
people saying?
Going into yesterday, it seemed like a lot of people were saying oh, maybe they'll go after Snell and maybe try to package it with one of the Rogers brothers from the Giants. But then that wasn't exactly going that way. And then Martino was on SNY and he was saying oh, they're going to upgrade modestly, which kind of, I guess, could be interpreted a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And then as the day went on and more starters were going off the board because once Senga went back down, once he came back and then got injured again, then it was oh, they need a starter. So then it was okay, let's see where they shop in the market. And it looked like they were in on everybody. And then, of course, they ended up with Paul Blackburn. But it was kind of
was it? What would you grade the Mets trade deadline at?
I think it was, I'm going to say a solid B. I don't think they obviously didn't blow anybody away. And I think people who were going into it being we need either Snell, Skubal, or Scott or somebody like that, those people are probably pretty underwhelmed. But strictly from I kind of expected kind of lower tier guys. I actually kind of liked it because I was we already have we don't have anybody that's going to blow anybody away in our rotation, but we already have a pretty solid 4. If you go with, Manaea, Severino, Quintana, Peterson, and then McGill I wasn't a fan of. So by getting Blackburn, we filled that spot, and then I feel we added to the bullpen because we got Brazaban from the Marlins. We got another guy who's kind of I don't know what he's going to be from the Rays. He was kind of a who knows what from that. But I felt overall, when you put all of our things together with Winker and with Stanek and with Maton, along with the guys we got today, I felt we had a pretty solid deadline. I didn't mind it at all.
All right, are we going to mention the Mets again in this podcast? Because we're grading the top 5 teams.
I like them as a Met fan and as maybe
But you're not putting them in the top 5?
No.
Good. We already got the Mets out of the way. Congratulations, Mets. I'll say this. Congratulations to the Mets and Red Sox. Very similar trade deadlines.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, I would lump them in. Who else would I lump in the the B-, C+? Who else would I lump? I think the Diamondbacks are a little bit better than that.
Yeah.
They actually made no, they're definitely better because they allocated resources to high Jason Adam and Josh Bell. Oh my I don't know. The Royals kind of
they had pretty good pitch in the Royals. The position players, which I don't really know if they needed all that much.
You know who? Well, I was going to say the Twins, but they don't even get a C. They had one guy.
They got one guy.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, here we go. We're power ranking 5 best. We're each going to do this 5 best trade deadlines for each team, counting down 5 to 1, and then we will punctuate it by the most impactful player. We feel it's going to be the most impactful player for the last couple of months here of the players who were traded.
Yep.
All right, let's spin the wheel of Evan, let's go. Number 5.
Yeah, so number 5, this one, if you're a Cardinals fan and you had like low standards, I feel like you may have been a tad bit blown away. And it was all on one trade, which is kind of crazy because with other teams, it was like they got him from a variety of different ways. But I feel like getting Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham in that same deal, and all you gave away was Tommy Edman, who was currently injured and was not really helping out your team at all, I felt like was a major addition because Eric Fetty's obviously one of the top starters in the league right now. I mean, who knows where that can go, considering he's a guy who just came back from Japan. And then Tommy Pham's a very serviceable outfielder, which they really needed. They needed another bat. So I feel like only giving up Tommy Edman and getting Eric Fetty, especially when you consider the fact that after that trade happened, all these kind of mid-level, like not that great, like kind of like 5 ERA, maybe 4.5 ERA guys are getting like top 3 prospects in a top organization system. And meanwhile, you're getting Eric Fetty for a major league guy that you weren't really using this season. I felt like that was a major get for John Mozeliak and the Cardinals. So I got that.
All right. I'm not going to argue with you. It was okay. Not in my top 5. They're not my top 5. You have to do more than that.
Yeah, fair.
Don't agree with me. Argue, say no, you're full of shit. All right. My number 5, I probably should put higher, but I'm not going to. And that is the Orioles. Number 5, the Orioles. The Orioles did a fair amount, right? So tell me who I'm missing here. Okay, you got Eflin, you got Rogers, 2 starters, right?
Yep.
Right. You got Eloy Jimenez, which basically for nothing, right? You took on his salary. He's having a down year, but he's the type of guy that maybe, he gets in a pennant race and takes off. Got for nothing. Who am I missing? Who else?
The Hayes trade earlier on. They got
the Hayes trade. Yep. Even though Austin Hayes crapped all over him after he left. Who am I missing? Anyone?
I think those were all of them.
But the Rogers, it was really amazing.
Oh, and they got Soto from the Phillies.
From Phillies, which is like, where'd that come from?
That was really random. But
yeah, it was like at the end of the deadline. Oh, by the way, the Phillies are getting rid of a relief pitch. Okay. But the Orioles, I applaud them because they needed starting pitchers. Now, did they get like the higher? It's almost like Jack Flaherty fit what they needed, sort of. But they'd already done that, so they're like, "Yeah, what if we do this again? It's going to work out terribly." Yeah. So I don't blame him for that. And also, he's a rental, and the guys they got are not rentals. In case Burns leaves, you're going to need starting pitchers. So I think that, what I'm impressed by is that they weren't shy about giving up stuff. Like the Rogers trade, like they gave up 2 legit, like these guys are going to be major league good players. Norby and Norby and who was the other one?
Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers, who's been he's been like up and down for them. Never.
Yeah, but still, it's like he's a major leaguer
for the Marlins.
But Connor Norby is like he could potentially be an all-star.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So you weren't shy about doing the same thing with the Eflin trade. I like Eflin a lot. So I put them at number 5. All right. You like that?
Yeah.
All right, good. Don't agree with me. Say no, that's terrible.
Like the one thing I had was when I was listening back to obviously the JP Ricciardi thing yesterday. I really think that, and granted, I don't exactly know how much on the market these guys were and how much it was just like people just kind of creating it. But I feel like if they got a Scuba or a Crochet, that would have been a much bigger addition.
Well, that was the second straight year that people said you got to go out and get that guy. Yeah. I just don't think that those guys were like, both of them. It just was never happening. Detroit, I don't think they were motivated to trade him. And Chicago, once Crochet did his demand, it was like everyone was running for the hills. And also, like I compare the Crochet thing to, when Chicago traded Chris Sale, you got a haul, but that was Chris Sale. I mean, you're trading for Crochet, who's had half a good year.
Yeah, so, I know. Yeah.
And so anyway, that didn't surprise me. All right, number 4.
All right, so number 4, I got the Mariners. They had kind of like a sneakier deadline. I feel like they didn't do anything that, like, as of right now, kind of blew anybody away. But Randy Rosa right now, obviously, he was having a down year. Now he's hitting 455 in his last 4 games. Was having a really good game. He had at least 1 RBI, I believe, against the Red Sox tonight. Justin Turner, obviously, they acquired him. Good veteran leadership. I know that JP said that sometimes you don't just acquire leadership for leadership, but I think he's actually a really solid and clutch player, as all Red Sox fans know, and as that's probably why they wanted to, try to get him back. And he had 2 RBIs in his first game tonight. And then they got Yimi Garcia, and I felt like they got him right before the reliever market started to explode, because he's a guy who could probably be considered in the same stratosphere as like a Jason Adam and maybe as like a Tanner Scott, just based strictly on his numbers. And they got him for just like kind of like a middle of the road prospect instead of having to give up a ton like the Padres did for those 2 guys. So I felt like overall they had a pretty solid deadline.
That's a good one. I mean, I'm spoiler. They are on my list. For all the reasons you said. I'll loop back on that. My number 4 is the aforementioned Padres, because, he just doesn't care, like, in a good way, right? We're gonna go out and we're gonna get I'm drawing a blank.
Tanner Scott and Jason Adam and Brian, who's kind of like
no, Jason Adam went to Arizona, didn't he?
No, he went there. Arizona got Puck, Bell.
Oh, Puck, that's right. Right. So you got Jason Adam, and you got
Tanner Scott, Brian.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, just take those 2, Jason Adam, Tanner Scott.
Exactly.
I mean, those, if you look at the top two of the top relievers, it's like, okay, this is it. This isn't we're gonna get these guys and hope that they're good, which happens. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But it's like these guys are worth it, and we're gonna allocate resources to it. So I just applaud anybody who just says, we're giving up guys.
Yeah,
we're doing what Chris Young did last year, and let's be honest, it was a great point by you about Yimi Garcia. Excuse me, but that they get out ahead of it a little bit. Yeah, I think that a lot of these teams, maybe that's what they should have done, because the price only seemed to go up for these relievers. So
yeah. It felt like once like with the reliever and starter market, it was like once a certain trade happened and they saw the return, it's just like, well, we're past the point of return on that. So
yeah. So I get the Padres at number 4. All right, what do you get number 3?
Yeah, so number 3, I got the Yankees. They were kind of a late addition because, I don't know, I just felt like, especially with all the noise around Yandy Diaz, I thought that maybe if they added him, I thought that would have been even better for their offense, because I felt like they maybe needed one more piece. But obviously, it was hard to ignore that Jazz Chisholm he's going crazy against the Phillies right now. Has 2 homers yesterday. Granted, 1 was against a position player, but still counts all the same. And then he has 2 homers today. 1 really clutch one against Matt Strahm. I believe it was in like the bottom of the 8th. And then the Phillies since came back, and I don't really know what the score is now. But so they get him. It's been a really good addition to the lineup. And then Enyel De Los Santos, apparently with the Padres, it seemed like it wasn't working out, because despite the fact they're a buyer, they were selling him. It seemed like he was just, I don't know if their bullpen's so stacked right now, they probably didn't even have room for him. But he could be another great addition to the Yankees bullpen. And then also Mark Leiter Jr. kind of was like the first kind of semi-big trade of the day, it felt like. Because I think the first trade of the day was like the Mets giving up a guy they just DFA'd, Josh Walker, and that was like kicked off deadline day. But I feel like the first like true noteworthy trade of the day was Mark Leiter Jr., and I think he'll be a really good addition to that bullpen. I feel like they could have done a little more, but I mean, getting Jazz Chisholm, who might be the most like noteworthy name that got traded at the deadline, at least on the position player side, was a big coup for them.
Well, I'm going to talk about Jazz Chisholm later, but they're not on my list.
Okay.
But I do think this, and JP said this as well, and I agree with him, that they could be the team that takes off. Like, they could absolutely be the team that takes off. Although the Garrett Cole thing, that's a little scary for them. But they could take off, but they could get to the play. It does surprise me a little bit that they did not get sort of that starting pitcher that's going to pitch in the playoffs.
Yeah, because it felt like they were in on Flaherty, and that, of course, happened at like the last possible second. So I guess they kind of just
Yeah, I would love to know what the other offers were for him.
Yeah,
Because we were doing the trade deadline show on Nesson, and I don't know, there was like 8 minutes left, and we go on a commercial break, and I said, you know what's weird? The Dodgers haven't done much. And then
Yeah.
we came back and like Dodgers have traded for Jack Flaherty.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, but that just seemed like a foregone conclusion. They said all along, the Dodgers said all along, said, hey, we want a top of the rotation guy.
Yeah.
And Jack Flaherty from that area, good for him. So anyway,
Yeah.
all right. Number 3, I'm going with Seattle.
Okay.
I felt like if I had to give like the good effort award, it was to Jerry DiPoto. I felt like he was trying the hardest of everybody.
Definitely.
He did. He was early in the sense that it was a couple days out. He kept on going. He didn't stop. Got a Rosarena. He got the Justin Turner one. So if you look at it this way about what they did, they got JT Chargois, having a great year. So they went in, they obviously needed help offensively. And I don't know how you can look at the fact that Randy Arozarena and Justin Turner are going to make them better. Both of them are going to make them better. They're a better team. They got Chargois. Who was the other? They got another reliever. Yimi Garcia. So they fortified that. So I feel like, yeah, all the things that you said before, but I just felt like he went into it with that mindset of we have a chance and we are going to make our team better, which is, what we keep coming back to. And it's the Mike Hazen thing, which we keep replaying, right?
Yeah.
I made a vow that if we're in it, we're going to go for it. And by the way, Arizona is not on my list, but I give Hazen, you can tell Hazen was of that same mind.
Yeah.
You got Josh Bell, you got AJ Puck. Did they get anyone else? But even
they got Dylan Floro right at the end, and he's been really good for the Nationals this year.
Right. So it's like, and this is a team, there are so many teams that are like where Arizona is, who, might not have had that mindset in the back. Listen, the Rays, I think were 3 out of the wild card or something like that.
Yeah, they just decided,
They traded off everybody. They'll probably get in somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel that. Didn't it feel that way with DiPoto? Maybe it was because all these trades were sort of spread out all the way to the end.
I think the tricky thing with him too was the fact that it felt like it was much more a hitters, not a hitters. It was much more like pitchers were what everybody was going after, and he was trying to get the hitters. So he knocked off 2. Obviously, got a Rosarena and Turner, but he felt like the most hitter needy team. So he was really going after the hitters. So he probably scoured the hitter market probably harder than any other GM out there.
Yeah. And, again, it was a good job by him. Good job, Jerry DiPoto. All right. Number 2 for you.
Yeah. So number 2, I have the Philadelphia Phillies. Carlos Estevez. Obviously, he just pitched in the game tonight, did really well. Took him a while to actually get on the mound. I guess they just weren't in close games recently. Austin Hayes has already been a good addition. He had a homer in the game tonight that I saw. He's been really good. At first, I thought they were going to platoon him with Marsh, but I think he's more just taken over for Johan Rojas, who hasn't really done much of anything at the major league so far. So he's been a really good addition. They got Tanner Banks from the White Sox, whose numbers don't look the best right now, but it seems like the underlying stats are great. And I think he's part of the reason why they ended up getting rid of Gregory Soto, because they got him as a lefty. So then they said, all right, Soto, you're gone. But then at the end of the bullpen, if you look at the numbers, Estevez has a 2.38 ERA. Hoffman has a 1.02 ERA. Strom now has a 2.41 ERA. And Kerkering has a 2.80 ERA. So the end of the bullpen there is just crazy good once you get, past the starting pitching, which has also been pretty solid for them. So I think all in all, Dabrowski.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil mine. So
all right.
Number 2. Who was that? Oh, you're the Phillies at number 2.
Yep.
I'll take the Dodgers at number 2. Because number one, we said that you need a top of the rotation guy, and assuming Jack Flaherty doesn't fall apart, that's what you have. You got our guy from Tampa.
Amid Rosario.
Ahmad Rosario.
Two years in a row, they bring him back.
Kiermaier is an interesting one. Obviously, he has very challenged when it comes to hitting.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to someone in the Dodgers and said, hey, because they were saying like, oh, well, maybe the Dodgers need an edge. It's like, oh, well, the built-in edge guy is Tommy Pham.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't, the fielding doesn't fit what we're doing fielding. And that's what they're saying. I mean, that's what Kiermaier does, right?
Yeah, no, great.
Even if he goes in at the end of the games and, so, and they got, who'd they get at shortstop?
Shortstop was Amid Rosario. And then they also got Tommy Edman.
Tommy Edman. That's what,
And they got Michael Kopech from the White Sox.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. So Michael Kopech is like that. I'm really interested to see. Obviously, he's pitched in a bad team, close for a bad team, had ups and downs, injuries, problems in the past. But boy, I am really looking forward to him getting with the Dodgers like mad scientists. Like I am really looking forward to that.
No, yeah, because he just throws. I mean, they'll probably tell him like just keep throwing that fastball. Like
I don't know. Yeah.
Bullpen's already good, so he's just right in.
So so I have the Dodgers at number 2. So go ahead. Who's your number 1?
Yeah, so my number 1 is the Padres. I mean, granted, they only really addressed one area and they spent half their prospects on it, but I think their bullpen is now insane. Like I was just reading through the Phillies before, but the Padres bullpen, they now have Jason Adam, who had a 2.49 ERA, was the Rays closer. He's now in their bullpen. They got Tanner Scott, a 1.18 ERA. He was the, Marlins closer. He's now in their bullpen. Their closer, Robert Suarez, is having a great year, a 1.51 ERA. They got Jeremiah Estrada, 2.72 ERA. They acquired Brian Hoeing it felt like kind of a throw into that deal, but it ended up working out, a 2.70 ERA. And then they got, I think it's Adrian Morejon, 2.74 ERA. So they have double the amount of guys who all have a sub-3 ERA in that bullpen. So pretty much, if they are ever in a high leverage situation, they now have basically 3 teams closers being their setup guys to lead them into whoever they want to make the closer, because Jason Adam, Tanner Scott, and Robert Suarez all could be closers. So they're really, if they need a rest day for one of these guys, it's not like, oh my God, who's going to get the save tonight? They got 3 guys that can get the save. So that was a really crazy bullpen.
Oh, it's a good one. I mean, it's a good one. And that's the thing, is that you have the Padres, they get into a series, they get in the playoffs. It's not like, that's the thing about the Dodgers. It's not like the Dodgers are going to blow you away. For me right now, Evan, it's the Phillies versus the field. I really believe that. It kind of feels that way. But, who knows? But because I think that even the Phillies, like, they could lose a starter and they'd still be okay.
Yeah, and they're getting deep in every area, right? Because now their bullpen is deep. Their starting rotation was already deep. Now, if Austin Hayes continues playing the way he started playing lately, that's another guy, because I think Rojas was kind of weighing them down in the lineup a little bit. Now they plug in Austin Hayes. That's another guy that can lead them to have an even deeper lineup. So, I mean, they're just
So before I give you my number 1, I want to give an honorable mention to the Pirates. And because I felt like the Pirates really tried to do stuff.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this on the trade deadline show about how, I think that they can see it. So you have Dela Cruz from Miami, right?
Connor Falefa from Toronto. They also got him.
Yeah. So they might get someone else. But but the point is that they're adding, and because they were adding, because they saw, hey, we have Skeens, we have Jones, we have Keller, we have enough. So it's not like this, not like sell off, this not detract. Let's do what we can. So I give Sherrington credit for that.
Yeah.
Because the Skeens factor is a big one. And as JP was on with me on the trade deadline show, and he had a good point. He's like, can you imagine if they just started Skeens beginning of the year? I mean, you'd be in the playoffs right now, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
I don't think you can argue that.
Yeah.
So
No,
number one for me is the Phillies,
Okay.
because I just felt like it was pure Dombrowski. Like, this is what we need, and this is what we will get. We need a right-handed hitting outfielder, and we need a closer. That is what we'll get. And whatever it takes, that's what we're gonna get. And they didn't need to add a lot, but we know that it was smart that they added their closer, because you don't want to be caught short there. And you don't want to like hope, oh well, Alvarado, he's gonna be okay. No, don't do that.
That's the one position on a contender you can't just.
Well, yeah, you know how I know? Because what happened to Craig Kimbrell last year with the Phillies?
Yeah, exactly. And it's starting to happen lately. I think they're all kind of calling for him to go away from the closers. I think more Orioles fans, at least the guy RDT, the guy we've had on so many times. I think they're already calling for Cano to be the new closer in Baltimore. So
yeah, well, that's where if the Orioles could fall short, the same thing could happen to them. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it wasn't tricky. Like more other teams did more moves, but the Phillies are the best team, and they made as impactful moves as everybody. There was no desperate. It was, we need this, so we're gonna get it. That's it.
Yeah.
And all right. So now I'm going to ask you the player you think is going to make the biggest impact. Who was traded? Who would that be, Evan?
Yeah, no, I was going through the list here. I was kind of like narrowing it down between two. I think I'll go because it's like the one I obviously have in my mind is Tanner Scott, just because of how big of a name he is and everything. The only issue I have there is, considering they already have an established closer and they also have Jason Adam, I just don't know if he can be as like, I don't exactly know what their end of the bullpen setup's going to be. So it's like, if he's not the closer, I don't know if he could be as impactful. So I think I might have to give it, at least on my end, to Carlos Estevez, because if the Phillies are going to be, as dominant as they usually are, and if he can come in and do exactly what he's been doing for the Angels, obviously instead of Jose Alvarado, I think that he could definitely have the most impact, because I feel like closing out the ball games is really all they need, because the offense puts up the runs and the starting pitching gets it to that guy. So it's just a matter of him locking it down.
I don't disagree. It's good ones. Mine, I want to go on record as saying I said this 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. No, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Jazz Chisholm, and he's hit back-to-back games with 2 home runs each, 4 home runs total. But when I saw him play in that first game on Sunday night, and he really didn't do anything until the second half of the game.
Yeah.
But I felt like he was just on the edge of what the Yankees accept. It's a good thing, right? So you didn't have the button down Aaron Judge, Stanton, Volpe, whatever.
Yeah.
And he had his hat backwards and he had his whatever. But it just seemed to add some life.
Yeah.
Kind of along the lines of what they thought Verdugo was going to be.
Yeah. Or even like a Stroman type thing.
Yeah, Stroman, same thing.
Yeah.
And they always, and they don't have a problem having any guys who are wild cards like that, because they say, oh, good, Judge is going to control, Rizzo's going to control the clubhouse.
Exactly.
And I just felt like, that this is a guy in Jazz Chisholm who was trending toward being a star, not only because it was on a video game cover, because he was trending to be a star.
Yeah.
Then, you probably do getting beaten down by that whole Miami situation a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
But now he doesn't have to be the star. He just can go out and play. and he doesn't, he can be a good defender and just play. And I don't know when it goes bad in New York if it's going to take a turn for the worse. I just felt like seeing them up close and personal, that this team that had struggled for all of July all of a sudden was revitalized.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because it put an extra bat in that lineup, especially, obviously with this hot streak going on lately that you have to be scared of, because obviously, I know Severino went kind of like, it went viral when he said, like, I basically just don't have to face the two hitters and I'm all good about that lineup when it comes to facing the Yankees with obviously Judge and Soto. And then now, the lineup starts getting more deep with Chisholm in there. So, and then obviously if Stanton can come back and start hitting, then all of a sudden they're back to the big bad Yankees. So.
by the way, you're welcome, Juan Soto. I mean, honestly, he owes me like 2% of his next contract.
There you go.
Just because his bread has never
videos, yeah.
His bread has never been hotter. In case people didn't see on the app BB Isn't Boring socials, the video of Juan Soto signing autographs at 11:30 at night over and over and over and over again, which I documented. And people the Yankee fans really seem to like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it gets every fan base. It's like, oh, he's humble. We're buying in. We're giving him a big contract. Red Sox
Yeah,
fans.
yeah. You look at tell me Boris isn't like, thank you. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, good vibes for the did they win? Did they win tonight? Did they win?
It's still 6-6. I was looking at
okay.
Hayes has driven another run, another addition at the deadline. So there you go.
Yeah.
That might be the most underrated one if we had to throw that in there. I feel like Hayes, because I feel like the Orioles have so much talent, especially in the outfield. They kind of were just writing him off and weren't giving him like regular playing time. But I feel like if he's going to truly become like an everyday outfielder for the Phillies, then he's going to might.
By the way, the Rays won again.
Yeah, I saw Christopher Morel hit a home run in his first
they
game.
beat the Marlins, which it doesn't count, but
yeah, that was like the sell-off series. There you go. That's like how many players can play in one series with the Rays Marlins. I know.
So yeah, they're creeping up. They're creeping up. Well, all right. Well, good enough. I think it's been a long day. You did an excellent job. It's been a long stretch. I think everyone is taking a breath. GMs are taking a breath. And now you go. Now you cross your fingers. Because now you go back to the Diamondbacks last year. They make the seawall move. They feel good. And then they lost like 9 in a row, right?
Yeah.
So you just don't know. But it was a good ride. It was a good run of fake trades and analysis and everything else. Now we move forward. Now we go. 2 months left. 2 months left of the season. All right. Thank you, my friend.